Hello there you guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more latest news. So if you do consider drop your likes, and if you do consider subscribe to the channel as always. So I think it's very imperative that Manchester United get back to winning ways against Leicester after the international break. Obviously when Jordan very difficult start to the season, only registering 5 points from 12 in our last 4 games. So we've only won 1 game, we've drawn 2, and of course we have lost 1. And I think what I've seen so far this season, it's basically replicating what I saw last season, because last season was a huge disappointment. Finished 6th, obviously failed to win many silverware, and of course we failed to qualify for the Champions League. We've actually failed to qualify for the Champions League 3 times out of the 6 seasons since Alex Ferguson's retirement. And I did say in that aspect it went against us in the summer transfer window of getting all our number 1 targets, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I'll credit him in the aspects that he did recommend 3 good players to the squad, and it was good that we did address some of the problematic areas, but we didn't address all the problematic areas throughout the course of the summer. But I did say it was going to be extremely difficult for us to address all the problematic areas in one summer transfer window. So maybe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does need a bit more time. He needs to get given maybe the January window and next summer to make a further more investment in the squad and that. And it was good that we did get that experienced centre half, and it was also good that we got that right back in and that. And we got 3 good players in, and I think we have seen glimpses of what good signings they're proven to be so far. Daniel James, he's had a fantastic start to his Manchester United career. He's still a prospect and needs time to develop, but he has scored 3 goals so far this season. With Wan-Bissaka, I think he's had a fantastic start to his Manchester United career. Obviously his distribution's good, he shows that ability to power from the back, and we have seen glimpses of how good he is so far. And I think so far with Manchester United and Wan-Bissaka, he's replicated what he did last season with Crystal Palace, because don't forget Wan-Bissaka only made his senior debut back in February 2018, but Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka are both only 21 years of age, so they have still got a lot of development in them. And with Harry Maguire, I think he's had a pretty decent start to his Manchester United career. Obviously we do know Harry Maguire is more experienced, because Harry Maguire's like 26 years of age, but I do believe he has addressed our defensive deficiencies in that. So in total we spent around over £140 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka, and of course on Harry Maguire. But we do know further more investment is needed in the squad. It was a shame that we didn't recommend a midfielder in throughout the course of the summer, because that was one of the priority areas, of course, where Manchester United needed to strengthen up was that midfield. Don't forget, from the majority of the summer as well, was in search for a right winger. But I do believe the players we was in for throughout the course of the summer will probably reignite our interest in them in the January transfer window, because obviously there was a lot of targets on our agenda throughout the course of the summer who Manchester United didn't manage to get. Obviously went in for Bruno Fernandes. I think now our move for Bruno Fernandes in January or next summer now is in jeopardy, because recent reports did indicate how he was on the verge of joining Real Madrid for around £64 million. But we had our chance with Bruno Fernandes, we had our chance to get him in that, and I would have been excited about the prospects of Bruno Fernandes playing alongside Paul Pogba in our midfield, because I think they would have complemented each other fantastically well. But I have got a lot of element of concerns about that midfield. Don't forget we inquired about getting the likes of Eriksen, we inquired about getting the likes of Jadon Sancho. I think we'll probably go in for Jadon Sancho next summer. We inquired about getting Dybala in, went in for Mandzukic towards the end of the window and that. So there is still further more investment needed in the squad. But we've enjoyed a very difficult start to this season. According to what Gary Neville recently said, he had his overarching view on what he thinks is going on with Manchester United at this present time, and he thinks Man United are playing on the right track under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He said the style of play seems to be right. We are creating chances, but we're just not being clinical enough in front of goal, and this basically indicates how why we're not scoring enough goals. We've only scored 7 goals in 4 games so far, and we've already conceded 4 goals in that. And obviously last season that was a problem as well. We didn't score enough goals last season. We only managed 53 goals in the Premier League last season. We conceded 54 goals in the Premier League last season for the first time in 4 decades, I think. So it's basically this season so far is replicating last season that. But I do believe throughout the course of the summer anyway, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was talking about our recruitment policy. Obviously prior to this summer transfer window, I think we wasn't competitive enough in the last 2 to 3 windows before the summer one. We didn't get anyone in January. Obviously we didn't get our number 1 targets last summer, and it's always very imperative in transfer whirlwind is, to get your number one targets. But when you haven't got Champions League football to offer, it's going to be, extremely harder to do that. But obviously, for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to remain in the job at Manchester United, obviously he's got to exceed expectation levels at the football club. Just like last season he exceeded expectation levels, Solskjaer, whilst he was the interim manager at the football club, in his first 3 months, because it was really, really good in his first 3 months. He exceeded expectations. The results were good, the performances were good. But since he got the job permanently back in March, it just seemed to have all gone wrong basically. And like I did say, I hope it works out under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Obviously, I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. All the Man United fans love him a lot because he was a great long-serving player for Manchester United. He served 11 years at the football club, and he flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance. But I've got some element of concerns about Solskjaer, and that there's quite a lot of Man United fans questioning his tactics and that. I thought he tactically got it right against Southampton. Obviously, some people go on his experience in that. He hasn't really got the experience of a manager. He hasn't really got the experience of a manager, not really to the highest level. So obviously, that's another element of concern in that. But hopefully, he can succeed at Manchester United. But I did say at the start of the season, our expectations this season, will be to finish in that top 4, and maybe perhaps win some silverware. And obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer have got to exceed these expectations. So they did give me overarching view on it. I don't think Man United are good enough yet to win the league or challenge for the league. I don't think we'll be challenging for the league at least in the next couple of years. And I did initially say our aspirations will be that top 4 in the next couple of seasons. But I did say, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants to bring that fear factor back to Manchester United and that winning mentality. But there's a vast majority of people out there and pundits that have got a lot of doubts about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer bringing that fear factor back to the football club, because we do know that fear factor hasn't been there, since the Alex Ferguson era. But obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, wants to get Manchester United back up there competing and winning silverware and that. And this is something, he does want to bring back to the football club. But you can still quite frankly say, that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in the process of rebuilding. Analysing it, the majority of this squad is not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. There's only 3 players that he recommended in, earlier on in the summer and that. And I do believe the vast majority of Manchester United fans, including me, have given Ed Woodward a lot of criticism. They've also demanded the Glazers out of the football club, because I don't like the way the football club has been run in the last 6 or 7 years. But like I did say, even though we've had a pretty bad start as this season, I still think these players that have performed quite well. I think the vast majority of them their performances have been below par and that, and the performances do need to improve, because obviously at the football club, we've got players on big contracts and that, and want to be back up there competing, because we are one of the biggest clubs in the world. We are the most successful team in England, historically. Obviously 13 Premier League titles, 20 all in all. But like I did say, I said regardless of who our manager is, I just can't see us ever replicating what we did under Ferguson. No one's gonna ever follow Alex Ferguson's legacy. But you can take this into the equation that obviously Ferguson, he didn't win out in his first 4 years at Manchester United. Obviously, when we reported him in 1986 from Aberdeen, he didn't win out in his first 4 years, and he was on the verge of getting the sack at that time. And then look what he went and achieved, Alex Ferguson and all that. We had 26, 27 successful years under him. But we do know now at this day and age, the boards are a lot more ruthless than there was, back in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s and that. So, like I did say, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could still succeed at Man United, and like I said, we're not really known for the sacking club. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is our 4th permanent manager, since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously, we know that 3 managers have already been sacked from the football club, so we haven't really, got the structure to keep sacking our managers and that. But I think the good thing about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is, obviously, he's got a lot of trustworthy in his young upcoming players, which is very, very good to see. He's got a lot of trustworthy in his young upcoming players, because there's a lot of young upcoming players in the squad that are developing and trying to improve. Also, as Gary Neville, was mentioning, obviously, good news has come out in regards to Mason Greenwood. News has come out in regards to Mason Greenwood, and I think it did say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is considering, giving Mason Greenwood a prominent role in the Manchester United team. Obviously, Mason Greenwood is demanding more. He's demanding more playing time. Basically, obviously, he played throughout pre-season. I think he's done well so far this season. Mason Greenwood has, made 4 substitute appearances so far this season. So obviously, Mason Greenwood has not yet started the game from the start, but I think he needs to start from the start against Leicester. Does Mason Greenwood and that? Obviously, I think Mason Greenwood is quite reliable. I think he can succeed as a Manchester United player, and I do believe now in the first team he can replicate, what he did for the under-18s, under-9s and under-21s, last season, because he scored 30 goals in 29 games. Obviously made his full debut, Mason Greenwood, there last season in the game against Cardiff. It was the last game of last season, was the game against Cardiff. Obviously we did lose by 2 goals to 0. But Mason Greenwood is only 17 years of age. But Solskjaer assured at the start of the season that Mason Greenwood, will be getting them opportunities, which is very, very good to see. Like I did say with Chong, recent reports have indicated out about Chong, saying that he's been in discussions with the football club over a new contract. Obviously, he was subjected to quite a bit of transfer speculation earlier on this summer, and that reportedly he had received loan offers from PSV and his former club Feyenoord, but reportedly Chong had refused these loan offers, and he wants to commit his long-term future with Manchester United. Well, Chong will be staying at Manchester United at least for this season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has made it clear to Chong, what he needs to do, to gain first team opportunities, and that's obviously, where to work hard. Obviously, Chong, don't forget, made his Premier League debut last season in 3-2 win against Southampton, made his actual competitive debut in the FA Cup against Reading, that was back in January this year, and he made his Champions League debut against PSG, of course, when we did win by 3 goals to 1. Chong has been at the football club since 2016, since his arrival from Feyenoord. He has only managed 4 first team appearances, but Chong was really, really good throughout pre-season, but obviously he's yet to make an appearance so far this season in the Premier League. So I do believe Chong should get given his opportunities. Obviously he is the right winner, but I thought the young players that played throughout pre-season were a fruition, so I credit him in that aspect. And I did initially say at the start of this season that I think the young players will become a fruition this season. Don't forget we've got the likes of Angel Gomez as well. I think he should get given his opportunities, because he did initially say he was going to be a big part of the squad this season. Angel Gomez, I'm actually surprised that I didn't play in the game against Southampton. Angel Gomez, obviously he's another one of our midfield options. He's another one of our midfield options, because we have got quite a lot of midfielders in that. But I think Angel Gomez should get given the chance. Obviously Diego Dalot is the upcoming future. He's another young player. Obviously I think Alex Tuanzebe as well. He's going to be a big part of the squad this season. So we have got quite a lot of young players. I think, McTominay, he's had a pretty decent start to this season as well. I thought McTominay was very, very good throughout pre-season, and I think he's replicated that so far this season as McTominay. Like I said, I still don't know if he's the long-term solution for Manchester United, McTominay. He's developing really, really well, and, so far this season, McTominay has been mainly playing alongside Paul Pogba, and I think, to be fair, they have complemented each other, fantastically well, but McTominay, has still got a lot of development in. But when he plays well, McTominay, he's good at feeding the attackers. He plays between the lines well. His defensive abilities are really, really good. So he has so far this season been quite reliable as McTominay. But in regards to the long-term future, I'm not too sure about that. I've got the same thoughts, about Fred and Andres Pereira. I don't know if they're the long-term solutions for Manchester United. We have seen glimpses of how good they can be, and that. Fred, I thought he did well towards the back end of last season. I don't think he's yet played in the Premier League, so far this season. Fred, obviously, we only got Fred last summer from Shakhtar Donetsk for just under £50 million. Obviously, he's on that list of one of our most expensive signings. So again, the club overpaid for him. Like I said, we've got history of spending big on players. We've also got, also well known for them overpaying for players, and that, we're well known for doing it. We did it with Fred, we did it with bloody Harry Maguire, so we did it with Lukaku, so we do overpay for players, and then basically let them go for next to nothing. So in that aspect, that's a bad business from the football club. But Fred was an exceptional player at Shakhtar Donetsk, but like I said, he hasn't really replicated this at Manchester United. But Solskjaer did say he expects to see better things from Fred this season. But for me, the likes of Fred, McTominay and Pereira, I think they're much I'd pick one of them over Nemanja Matic, because I think they're much better solutions than Matic, because I think Matic is one of the inconsistent players for Manchester United. We have seen glimpses of how good he can be, and that obviously it's one of Jose Mourinho's players. Obviously Mourinho recommended Nemanja Matic in and that, because obviously at the time Mourinho had some kind of obsession with tall players. Obviously Mourinho did get that reunion with Matic at the time. We paid £40 million for Nemanja Matic, but at the time we got him in, I did say to you then, I had concerns about us bringing him in, because obviously he's slow and that, he makes that midfield look totally imbalanced. So I think maybe in January or next summer, we should consider offloading him. So yeah, I've got a lot of element concerns about that midfield, definitely without a shadow of a doubt. But I did say to you, didn't I, I did say to you on one of my videos, didn't I? I said, what will Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's next signings be? You know, if he's to be in January or if he's to be here by next summer, what will his next signings be? Will he still want? I think he probably still will want to continue getting the pursuit of young homegrown players. Because don't forget, early on this summer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer worked out his transfer strategy. He did say he wanted to recommend a number of young upcoming British players, and he did recommend, like I said, 3 good additions to the squad. So, like I did say earlier on in the video, I'm happy that we addressed some of the problematic areas, but we didn't address all the problematic areas, and that is Riri. But actually, at the start of the season, it actually did say that the board had assured that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job would be safe at Manchester United at least for this season. Regardless of what happens this season, it did say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job should be safe this season, because I think the board had come to terms and they realised that throughout the course of the summer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't backed enough. He wasn't backed enough, throughout the course of the summer. So I think now the board have assured that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be backed in the next couple of windows and that. But I said earlier on in the video, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is in the process of rebuilding this Manchester United squad and that. But I hope, it can, like I said, I hope it can work out under him and that. Don't forget, we have got quite a few injuries in the squad. Don't forget, that's another headache for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United. Obviously, it confirmed earlier on this week that Wan-Bissaka had to withdraw from the England squad, obviously, with a back injury. He did initially say he had returned to Old Trafford for treatment, so he did initially say early on this week that Bissaka, would be, monitored in the next couple of days to see if he can be fit enough, to play against Leicester. And Wan-Bissaka is a very, very imperative player. Like I said, he's obviously our first choice right back. We've got quite a few other full-backs in the squad. Obviously, Ash Young's one of the backups. Obviously, Diego Dalot is one of the backups. So we have got quite a few full-backs in the team. But obviously, Wan-Bissaka is the first choice right back. But yeah, like I said, the club paid, was it around £50 million? Well, we paid £45 million up front with £5 million add-ons, which did potentially rise up to around £50 million. So I did say, hopefully, Wan-Bissaka's injury is not too severe. Obviously, we do know that Eric Bay is a long-term absence. Obviously, he's out, I think, until the new year with a knee injury. Obviously, Eric Bay had sustained this knee injury, throughout the course of pre-season. I hope Eric Bay's injury, well, we know it's severe. But I think, the club probably, will consider offloading Eric Bay maybe in January or next summer. Obviously, not reflecting on that he's, injury prone, and I think his Manchester United career has been mainly affected, Eric Bay's with the amount of injuries he has sustained. Not only that, I think also with his fallout under managers, but we still know that Eric Bay is a very imperative player. He has got a great potential, and when he's fully fit, he does hold his line really, really well. I think now he's into his 4th season as a Manchester United player. He has been here since the Jose Mourinho era. But yeah, I think, the club will want to at least recoup the initial £30 million that we did pay for him from Villarreal back in 2016. Of course, if we are open to selling Bay. Don't forget Fossil Mensah was a long-term absence. I think he's out with injury. Obviously, he returned to Man United early on in the summer, because we do know that last season he'd been on loan with Fulham. I think before that, he was on loan with Crystal Palace. So in that aspect, he has gained more experience as Fossil Mensah. We know that Luke Shaw is out with a hamstring injury. I think it did say he's out until mid-September. Well, there's been a change of scenery, because it said before that actually he was going to be out until early October, but now reportedly Luke Shaw is out until mid-September. Like I said, I hope his injury is not too severe. I think before he sustained this injury this season, I think he's had a pretty average start to this season as Luke Shaw. Obviously reflecting on his impressive performances last season, he won the double player of the season, did Luke Shaw, and there's not a lot of reliable players at Manchester United at this present time, but I think Luke Shaw is, a reliable player. I think he's very reliable on that left-hand side and that. And I think for the majority of his Manchester United, career, I think he's done really, really well. He's had some patchy moments where he's had a few injuries and that. He's sustained quite a few injuries as a Man United player. Obviously, under the Jose Mourinho era, I think he also had a fallout with Jose Mourinho, did Luke Shaw. But he's still a very, very imperative player, because he's good at making them overlapping runs, and he does make a huge difference on that left-hand side, when he's on form. Obviously, Anthony Martial, he's obviously out with a thigh injury. I said, Anthony Martial is a very, very imperative player. I think he's had a fantastic start to this season as Anthony Martial. Obviously, he's scored, I think, 2 goals so far this season for Manchester United. Obviously, he scored 50 goals for the club. He scored his 50th goal against Wolves earlier on in the season, and now he's into his fifth season now as a Manchester United player. He's Anthony Martial. Obviously, he's been here since the Louis van Gaal era, but so far this season, and what we saw throughout pre-season, Martial's replicating what he did in his first season, with Manchester United, because, we got him as a 19-year-old under the Louis van Gaal era, and I thought he did well in his debut season. He scored 17 goals in that particular season for Anthony Martial. The club, don't forget, give him a 5-year deal back in January, so he's under contract with the football club until 2024, and he's on a substantial amount. I think he's on around 200 grand a week. Is Anthony Martial, or is it just over 200 grand a week? He's on, but we do not got confirmed at the start of the season that Anthony Martial is being given that number 9 shirt. So obviously, he is playing more centrally this season. He primarily plays out wide, but he's playing more centrally this season, because he does seem to be, more effective in that central position, does Anthony Martial. And of course, he's developing well. He's only 23 years of age, but I still believe that Anthony Martial has not yet quite emulated to that level. Obviously, reflecting back in the game, the game last weekend against Southampton, we do know that obviously, Marcus Rashford. We do know that Marcus Rashford, was actually playing in that central position. He was obviously fulfilling Martial's role due to Martial's absence, and Rashford was very, very poor against Southampton last week. I think he got a lot of criticism from a lot of the Man United fans, reflect on his bad performance that he put out, and that Rashford didn't latch on to any of them crosses. I thought his finishing in that particular game, was really, really poor. And, like I said, Rashford, I think mainly this season, will play out on the flank and that. But Rashford can play centre, he can also play out wide. But I still say Rashford is definitely, the long-term solution for Manchester United. But I think prior to the Southampton game, I think he's mainly, done okay so far this season as Rashford. Rashford's been a long servant here. He's been a United player, since the age of 7. He is only 21 years of age and that. So still a long-term solution for Manchester United. I think we've also, got Lee Grant out with injury. He's another injury concern. So we have got quite a few injuries. Obviously, the news in regards to Paul Pogba, as I updated you about Paul Pogba earlier on this week. Obviously, we do know that Ed Woodward has reportedly contacted Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola, over getting Paul Pogba a new contract in the football club. Obviously, I think Paul Pogba's plans for the future, is to still make a move to Real Madrid, because we do know for the entirety of the summer, Paul Pogba was relentlessly linked to a move to Real Madrid, and he had a long-running transfer saga. But obviously, Paul Pogba's move to Real Madrid this summer never materialised in that. So I can't really see him, committing to a new long-term contract unless, Man United, give him a substantial amount. He's already on a substantial amount on his current deal at the moment. Is Pogba. Pogba has got 2 years left on his contract with Manchester United, with an option to extend it by a further year, and he's on just under £300,000 a week. As Pogba, don't forget. So I think if he was to sign a new contract, Pogba, and he was to commit his long-term future in Manchester United, obviously probably Paul Pogba, would demand, to be the highest player at the football club. So an estimated guess, I believe Paul Pogba would demand in the excess of around 400 grand a week, maybe even £500,000 a week, to commit his long-term future with Manchester United. But like I did say, Paul Pogba confirmed early on in the summer, that he wanted to leave Manchester United. He basically said he's seeking for a new challenge in that, and he publicly admitted that he wanted to leave Manchester United earlier on in the summer to obviously, rejuvenate his career. And I did give you the couple of main factor reasons why Paul Pogba, may have wanted to leave the football club, because obviously maybe he's frustrated with lack of competitiveness, maybe because we're not in Champions League football, maybe he feels as though he isn't playing amongst good enough players at Manchester United. So maybe these are the couple of reasons, why he still wants to leave the football club. Now, Paul Pogba's brother recently came out, Mayfield, and he basically said now that Paul Pogba will focus on the season with Manchester United. But like I said, I'm glad he hasn't gone anywhere, because I think he's a very imperative player, and also especially with our failure to land a midfielder in the summer, it was very, very imperative that we kept Paul Pogba anywhere, because let's be honest, we haven't really got on a backup to Paul Pogba in that midfield. We haven't really got a backup to Paul Pogba in that midfield. But Paul Pogba's 26 years of age. He has still got a lot of years ahead of him, and that. still got a hell of a lot of years ahead of him and that. And, you know, like I said, you know, he's been mainly inconsistent as a Manchester United player. Obviously, you know, Paul Pogba, you know, rejoined the football club back in 2016 from Juventus, so he's now into his 4th season as a Manchester United player. I do know throughout the course of summer there was talks about him making a return back to Turin. You know, he did have 4 good years in Turin, you know, with Juventus, but he hasn't really replicated this at Manchester United. But yeah, his actual first choice preference, you know, was actually, you know, Real Madrid. Real Madrid's was Paul Pogba. But I did say the stumbling block of, you know, this summer, Paul Pogba leaving Man United, you know, was reflecting basically on the substantial amount we put on him. We actually was very adamant he wasn't for sale, but we did initially say, you know, we quoted out that we wanted around £180 million. So that's a huge amount of money just for one player, and plus we was demanding just over double than what we paid for him from Juventus back in 2016, because Real Madrid already spent a substantial amount this summer. You know, they spent around what £300 million on 5 players and that. But Zinedine Zidane, you know, will be infuriated. You know, so will Real Madrid, because, you know, Zinedine Zidane identified Paul Pogba as his #1 target. I do believe Christian Eriksen was on Real Madrid's agenda, but I think Real Madrid's preference was Paul Pogba over Christian Eriksen. But we do know now Paul Pogba's staying at the football club at least until January. It hasn't only been this summer that Paul Pogba's been subjected to a lot of transfer speculation. Reflected back last summer, Paul Pogba was subjected to a lot of transfer speculation, you know, based on his poor relationship with Jose Mourinho and that. Paul Pogba never really got the chance under Mourinho, but Paul Pogba, you know, got one of his best wishes when Jose Mourinho left the football club and that. And then when he left, you know, Paul Pogba was in absolutely fantastic form in that 3-month period when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager. We saw glimpses of how good, you know, Paul Pogba can be. Analysing his performances, you know, so far this season, Paul Pogba's, I don't think he's been too bad. I don't think he's performed to the same sort of extent as how, you know, Martial and Daniel James, Dan Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire have performed, but I still think he's done okay. You know, he wasn't so good against Southampton. He played a lot of sloppy passes, as Solskjaer was saying. You know, he also missed a penalty against Wolves, did Pogba, and obviously early on in the season he received you know, quite a lot of criticism. You know, he was subjected to online racial abuse following his penalty miss, but I'll credit Paul Pogba in the aspect I thought, you know, he handled that situation, you know, quite well. But Paul Pogba at the football club, you know, has won the Europa League and League Cup. That came in his 2nd season with Manchester United. So I'm very, very hopeful as well that Paul Pogba, you know, can regain full fitness for the game against Leicester. Obviously, don't forget, early on this week, was it, Paul Pogba had to withdraw from the France squad after he had after he sustained an ankle injury in the 1-1 draw with Southampton last week. He did initially say earlier on this week that Paul Pogba was set to undergo a scan to investigate the extent of the damage, like I said on my previous videos. But I think recent reports said that Paul Pogba, you know, should be fit for the game against Leicester. Well, I'm hopeful, even if he doesn't start from the start, that I can, you know, be involved in the game, you know, can Pogba, because, you know, he is a very, very imperative player, and we do know of how much of a difference, you know, he does make in that midfield, because when he's on form, he's like 2 players in one. He's one of the best midfielders in the world. He's good at feeding the attackers. He can score goals. He can provide, and you mainly see the best of Paul Pogba when he's freed up and that. But I'm just very, very delighted, you know, that Paul Pogba, you know, he's staying with the football club. But like I said, you know, a lot of players now have left it. You know, have left the football club. You know, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. You know, obviously, I think it's around 7 or 8 players now that have left since he arrived. Obviously, we know that, you know, Antonio Valencia left at the end of last season after he served 10 years with Manchester United. Obviously, we know we saw Chris Smalling go out on loan the other week to Roma. Roma have paid £2.7 million. There's no obligation to buy for Roma to make the deal permanent next summer, so possibly could return to Man United after his loan. I did say we needed to get rid of one central defender, but despite the fact that we loaned Chris Smalling out, you know, we have still got, you know, 6 centre-backs in the team. Obviously, Matteo Darmian left the football club, was it early on this week? You know, he joined Parma for just over £3 million, so there's no loan deal in that. You know, he's gone permanently as Darmian, which was, I think it was good business from the football club getting rid of him. You know, there was no surprise that Darmian left the football club because he was surplus to requirements of Manchester United, but I'm just surprised of how much we let him go for, because, you know, we let him go for next to nothing. We paid around £12.7 million for him from Torino back in 2015. So basically, we've sold him £3.6 million. So we've lost out on around £9.1 million there. So I'm glad that Darmian went anywhere. Obviously, Ander Herrera left the football club early on this summer. Maybe it was a mistake for Man United getting rid of him. It was especially a mistake letting his contract run down and then letting him go on the free. So in that aspect, we've lost out on money there, because, you know, we paid £30 million for him from Bilbao back in 2014, and we've let him go for next to nothing early on this summer. And obviously, it was a shame that we didn't recruit a replacement for Ander Herrera, because the initial plan was to keep. The initial plan was actually, you know, to bring two midfielders in, that could replace Herrera and Marion Fellaini, and the plan was to keep Paul Pogba, but obviously it hasn't materialised. I know we've kept Paul Pogba, but we haven't got a replacement under Herrera or Marion Fellaini. Marion Fellaini, like I said, left the football club in January, but under Herrera and Marion Fellaini were two long-serving players. Herrera spent 5 years at Man United, Marion Fellaini spent 6 years at Man United. Obviously, Lukaku left the football club. I said again, it was a shame that we didn't recruit a replacement for Romelu Lukaku. I think we generated it was good business that we generated a substantial amount for him, and we recouped the money that we did pay for him from Everton a couple of years ago. And obviously, Sanchez, went out on loan to Inter Milan. Despite going out on loan to Inter Milan, though, Manchester United are still, paying the majority of Alexis Sanchez's wages, because obviously when he was at the football club, Sanchez, we was giving him 400 grand a week, but he said he'd potentially rise up to 500 grand a week, based on the image rights and the bonuses. I didn't actually say at the time he was at Man United, his wages were having a really bad effect on the football club, with Alexis Sanchez, but I still believe we're paying him around 300 grand a week, so he's still classified as the second highest paid player at Manchester United. Inter Milan have obviously agreed to pay 4.5 million of his 21 million annual salary in that, so they're not really paying that much our Inter Milan. It is a 10-month loan he's gone out on, with Inter Milan. We've paid around £6 million as well to get him out on loan, but don't forget, it's without a buy option, there's no obligation to buy for Inter Milan to make the deal permanent after the 10 months, so I don't know what Sanchez, will be doing after, but I doubt, Man United, will actually, take him back and that. But Sanchez, enjoyed a difficult 18 months anyway, with the football club. He was so inconsistent. Obviously, like I said, I was surprised he didn't exceed expectation levels, because I thought he would have done, reflecting back what he did at Arsenal, because, Sanchez did have 4 good years there with Arsenal. Was it 3.5 years he had with Arsenal? He scored over 70 goals in that period. He won quite a few FA Cups and that, and was, he was absolutely fantastic for Arsenal. He even did good at Barcelona when he was younger, did Sanchez. He played under Pep Guardiola's guidance. I think he had like 3.5 years with Barcelona, but just didn't replicate any of his form at Man United. Sanchez only managed 5 goals in 45 games in all competitions for the football club. Sanchez still initially was under contract with Manchester United, I think, until 2022. But I think, he also became injured prone when he was at Man United, because he did sustain, quite a few injuries last season. Also, Sanchez, wasn't even part of the pre-season squad, because obviously he'd been on Copa America duty throughout pre-season. He actually, he'd sustained an injury. Whilst he was on Copa America duty. I think it was a hamstring injury. So anyway, Sanchez had been working to full fitness, and he did actually say anyway, if Sanchez would have remained at the football club, he only would have been, mainly participating in the Europa League on the Carabao Cup. And he's aged up now with Sanchez. I think he's nearly 31 years of age. But I'm glad we've got him out on loan, and I did say that's the only way we would have got rid of him anywhere, because I would have found it difficult, to get rid of him permanently. But he's gone now anywhere. Obviously, Joe Pereira, he went out on loan to Hearts a couple of weeks ago, don't forget, and I believe someone else left as well. Dean Henderson, of course, went out on loan he's gone back out on loan to Sheffield United and that. But I still believe now, speaking, that probably in January next summer, more players, do need to be sold by the football club, because as I still say now, I still believe, these problematic players at Manchester United. Now, like I said, we've still got 6 centre-backs in the team and that. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first choice is Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. Obviously, they're our first choice centre-backs. Like I said, with Harry Maguire, he's the best option than what we've got in our backline at the moment. With Victor Lindelof, these question marks around him, can he keep the consistency up, Victor Lindelof, and I hope he can. Lindelof now is in his 3rd season as a Manchester United player. I think he's mainly so far this season, he's replicating what he did in his 2nd season, because I thought in his 2nd season Lindelof was really, really good. He was poor in his 1st season, didn't really settle in and that, and lacks that consistency bit. But I think prior to that, I think he's done really, really well so far in his Manchester United career. He's been a bit below par in his last couple of games as Lindelof, but I still say he's flourishing as a Manchester United player. He's Victor Lindelof. Obviously, I think, like I said, this is his 3rd season now at Manchester United. We've got Phil Jones, that's still at the football club. I think he's one player that definitely needs to go in January or next summer, because I think he's too inconsistent now, And I did initially say anyway, in the last 6 or 7 years or so, there has been cultural problems at the football club. But Solskjaer said, early at the start of the summer, he was looking to build the squad, with the club's history, and he was looking to bring certain players in who he thinks are going to fit the culture of the club and the history of the football club and that. And with Phil Jones, though, you know, he's been here 8 years now. Well, this is his 9th season now as a Manchester United player, should I say, but he has been here 8 years. We have seen glimpses over the years, you know, of how good he can be, Phil Jones, but I think he's just too inconsistent now. Don't forget the club gave him a new long-term contract last season, which was bad business as well. So yeah, he's one player that needs to go. In regards to Marcus Rojo, like I said, you know, he was subjected to quite a lot of transfer speculation earlier on in the summer. Obviously, Everton, don't forget, inquired about getting Marcus Rojo on deadline day, but obviously, you know, his move to Everton never materialised. You know, Rojo's just got under 2 years left on his current contract with Man United. I think we put around the £25 million valuation on Rojo. Don't forget the likes of Marcelo Monaco. I think AC Milan also inquired about getting Marcus Rojo, but Solskjaer confirmed before the Southampton game last weekend that Rojo will be definitely nowhere staying at the football club. But I think we need to orchestrate on getting rid of him in January or perhaps next summer, because I think Rojo's Manchester United career has been mainly affected, you know, the amount of injuries he has sustained and that. So that's really taking its toll. And I think it's good that he's versatile. His versatility is really, really good. You know, he's predominantly a centre back, but can play as a left back and also play as a wing back. So his versatility is really, really good. And I think Rojo is now 29 years of age. But yeah, he's another player that I think we need to consider, you know, getting rid of. Like I did say with Alex Tuanzebe, I said he's going to be a big part of the squad this season, is Alex Tuanzebe. So he'll be staying at the club, you know, for this present time. Ashley Young as well. I think, you know, this should be his last season as a Manchester United player. Obviously, you know, Ashley Young has been here 8 years, so he's been another long serving here. He's now into his 9th season as a Manchester United player. Is Ashley Young. Don't forget, you know, the club gave him a new 1-year extension last season. Obviously, we wasn't going to give him a long-term contract, you know, reflecting on his age, because I think now Ashley Young is 34 years of age. He's predominantly a right-back. He's played at left-back quite a few times during his Man United career. He's also played as a right-winger a few times during his Man United career. Don't forget, he actually played at left-back last week against Southampton. He actually, you know, was captain the side there, was Ashley Young. I think Ashley Young played at left-back because obviously it was due to Luke Shaw's absence. But yeah, Ashley Young last season was our first choice right back, but he's no longer now our first choice right back anymore. Obviously with the arrival of you know, Anwan Bissaka and that. But yeah, I think anyway, you know, reflecting on his age, I think, you know, he's coming to an end of his footballing career. He's Ashley Young anyway, so could possibly, you know, make it retire at the end of the season, or just leave Manchester United if he doesn't retire. Or just leave Manchester United if he doesn't retire and that. Like I said, the Nemanja Matic, I think also the club, you know, need to orchestrate on, you know, getting rid of him and that. So yeah, so these probably more players that do need to leave Manchester United. Talking about, you know, Jesse Lingard as well. I haven't been impressed with his performances, you know, so far this season. I think he's been quite poor. He's replicated, you know, what he did in the last couple of months of last season, because Lingard was very poor, you know, in the last couple of months of last season. But I still say he's a long-term solution for Manchester United. Is Jesse Lingard. Obviously, you know, he's progressing up the Manchester United Youth Academy and that. You know, he's been here a number of years now. He's highly experienced, is Lingard. You know, he's what, 27, 28 years of age. You know, can play as that number 10. You know, can also play on that right. But I think due to his inconsistency, this is why he didn't start against Southampton. He did come on as substitute, but he didn't start from the start. You know, so we obviously we went with Juan Mata instead in the game against Southampton. It's fair, I'll credit Juan Mata. He played quite well against Southampton. You know, I thought he did well in the last couple of games of last season. Towards the end of last season, I thought, you know, Mata, you know, did quite well. Mata is obviously no longer first choice anymore. Even though Mata he's staying at the football club, he's committed his long-term future with the club. You know, he's earlier on in the summer, Juan Mata signed a 2-year contract with an option to extend it by a further year. But I think Mata anyway has had a pretty decent career with Manchester United. He has made over 200 appearances for the club in all competitions. I think he scored like 45 goals in 218 or 219 appearances for the football club. But yeah, Juan Mata now, he's aging up. You know, I think he's what, 31 years of age now. He's Juan Mata. But yeah, I said I was very, very delighted anyway. You know, that we kept around Juan Mata at the football club anyway. I give you the news, didn't I, earlier on, was it this week, in regards to David De Gea. I give you the latest news about David De Gea, and I basically said, you know, we could, you know, fear losing David De Gea in the January transfer window. Obviously, you know, the football club have not got, you know, David De Gea a new contract. there has been a change of scenery, because it was actually, looking very, very imminent, early on this summer and throughout pre-season, that David De Gea was going to be committing his long-term future in Manchester United, and it was looking like he was going to be signing a new contract, a new long-term contract. He said De Gea was set to sign a 6-year contract with up to around 375 grand a week, and obviously this would take him under contract with the football club until 2025, and David De Gea's got under a year left on his current deal, and I think on his current deal, David De Gea is on around 200 grand a week, but we could fear losing him in January. And obviously, if we're still not competing for the top 4 by the January transfer window, by January, I think David De Gea will want out of the football club anyway. Don't forget, early on this summer, it said PSG, were regarded as the favourites to get David De Gea. They were regarded as the favourites to get David De Gea. Obviously, Real Madrid have been long admirers of David De Gea. I think also Juventus have inquired about getting him in that. But we know how imperative David De Gea is. David De Gea has been at Manchester United 8 years. He's now into his 9th season at Manchester United. I think he's had 7.5 good years of David De Gea. He's been quite poor so far this season. He was poor towards in the last couple of months of last season, because he made costly mistakes last season. He did it against Palace this season. And I think that's mainly to do with the contractual situation, to be quite honest with you. But it did literally say at the start of pre-season that we'd had breakthrough in negotiations with David De Gea's agent George Mendes over getting David De Gea a new contract, and for a long time De Gea was demanding 350 grand a week to sign a new contract, and for large periods we was not willing to meet his wage demands. But then we come to the terms and we decided to meet his £350,000 a week wage demands. And then basically he said he was looking then imminent, he was going to be signing a new contract. Obviously 350 grand a week, would obviously make him the highest paid goalkeeper in the world, also making the highest paid in the history of the football club and that. But we could reportedly fear losing David De Gea. But David De Gea is 28, or is he 29 years of age now, so he has still got a lot of development in him. But I think he's had a great career with Manchester United. Like I said, he's been here since the Alex Ferguson era. He's won the club's player of the year 4 times out of the 6 seasons since Alex. 4 times out of the 6 seasons, reflecting on his impressive performances. Like I said, he's won everything here domestically, and he's made over 300 appearances for the club in all competitions as David De Gea. But I think he did actually say we're confident, we can still cash in £30 million for David De Gea in January. Obviously, if we can't get him a new contract, obviously, we want to cash in for him in January rather than letting go on a free transfer at the end of the season. That would obviously, make more sense. At full value, De Gea's worth around 90 or 100 million pounds at full value, but obviously we're not going to get that, because obviously he's got under a year left on his contract and that. But we've identified a few keepers that could replace De Gea at the football club anyway. There's been talks of Jan Blanc, there's been talks about Dominik Likovic from Dynamo Zagreb. So we instructed scouts, to keep a close eye out on them 2 keepers. If David De Gea goes, though, we are going to definitely need a replacement for him, because you look at our other goalkeepers. We've got Romero's under contract with the football club until 2021, I think, with an option of a further 12 months. But Romero's obviously our second choice goalkeeper. He's not reliable enough to come our number 1 goalkeeper. Lee Grant's injured, Joe Pereira's out on loan, Dean Nelson's gone back out on loan to Sheffield United, so we're definitely going to need a replacement for him if he does go in January. So yeah, that's mainly the latest news about David De Gea. That is the latest news about David De Gea and that. But like I did say at the beginning of the video, it's very imperative, that we do get back to winning ways against Leicester. And I did say on my video yesterday, Leicester is going to be a difficult encounter, to be quite honest. Leicester have enjoyed a pretty decent start to the season. They've registered 8 points from 12 in their last 4 league games. So obviously, Leicester started off, the season with a 0-0 draw against Wolves. Then they got a point away to Chelsea. They beat Sheffield United 2-1, and I think they recently beat Bournemouth by 3-1. They've won the last 3 games in all competitions of Leicester, because obviously they beat Newcastle in the Carabao Cup 4-2 on penalties, so they're in the next round of the Carabao Cup and that. And Leicester are sitting 3rd at the moment. Obviously it is at Old Trafford, so it's a game you should expect Man United to win. Leicester did pretty good business, throughout the course of the summer transfer window. Though I think they recommended 4 players in. They spent, I think they spent in the region of around £90 million. That's an estimated guess, but it's somewhere around that figure if I'm not spot on. So the Leicester, did pay obviously a club record fee for Youri Tielemans. They did pay around £40 million for Youri Tielemans. They also got Dennis Pryor in from Sampdoria. I think they paid around £18 million for him. I think they you know, they obviously got Perez in for around £30 million. They got James Justin in for around £6 million. So Leicester, you know, got around 4 players in and that. But we usually have got a good winning record against Leicester. Obviously, Leicester have lost a couple of their imperative players in, you know, recently. You know, obviously they lost Harry Maguire, you know, this summer. Obviously they lost Raheem Mahrez last summer, you know, to Manchester City and that. But Leicester, you know, is going to be a pretty, you know, tough game, to be quite honest. So Manchester United, you know, do really need to be on it. But you know, the thing we're lacking at the moment, you know, I think we're lacking leadership in the team. You know, we are creating chances, but we're just not being clinical enough in front of goal, and that seems to be the problem at the moment. You know, we seem to be, you know, producing too many crosses, and not enough players are latching on them crosses and that. I think we've improved defensively. We definitely, you know, look much better defensively than what we of how we looked, you know, last season. But for me, there's still further more investment needed in the squad in January, without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt and that. But like I said, you know, a lot of money's been spent at Manchester United, you know, in the last 6 years or so. I think around £968 million has been spent. So we've just spent under £1 billion in the last 6 years at the football club. Like I said, £148 million spent this summer, just under £400 million spent under Mourinho, over £200 million spent under Van Gaal, you know, around £67 million spent under David Moyes and that. And you know, it just proves always spending big on players and getting them Glasgow players doesn't always guarantee you success, and that's been proven with Manchester United in the last 6 years or so. But yeah, a hell of a lot of money's been invested into the football club and that. But yeah, so that's mainly everything to update you today, guys. You know, drop your comments, likes below on the channel, and if you do, consider subscribe as always, and take it easy. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.